Hello everyone, a very good evening and welcome to ACE Online. We will see current affairs of 1st April, including the yesterday's as well. Yesterday was a Sunday, so we did not have a session. So, I am clubbing 2 days current affairs and we will have a discussion of 2 days current affairs, right. So, before we going into the detailed discussion, let us see what are all the articles that we are going to discuss today. First one, Bharat Ratna awards. So, the awards were given by President yesterday, right, day before yesterday. So, we will see what actually are Bharat Ratna awards, why they are given and for what category. So, all those details we will see, and then we will also see about the winners and along with their achievements, right. So, this we will see in a detailed manner. Next one, Global Biodiversity Framework. This was covered in the Hindu article about the indigenous people meeting in the USA. So, we will see what is the context, what has happened in the background, and then we will come to the context, right. Then tropical cyclones. So, it is part of geography. There was a increasing cyclones and there was a new research paper where it has proved that there was intensity of cyclones got increased. So, we will see what is the demand of the new research paper, why they want to increase the categorization. So, we will see in detail about it. Financial Action Task Force from International Relations, and then Katchatheevu Island between India and Sri Lanka. So, recently our Honorable Prime Minister has made a statement related to this. So, that is why we are discussing this. Next, Vaikom Satyagraha, it is part of history, modern history. So, it was completed 100 years on March 30. So, that is why we there was an article in the Indian Express. So, we will see that as well, and then one factual pointer, finally some practice questions, right. So, these are the articles that we are going to discuss, and I hope you are ready in case if you if you have any doubts you can ask here. Yeah, very good evening Oendila, Srinath and Malini. Let us start the session without any delay. Yes. So, the first article is Bharat Ratna awards. So, the 4 persons, this is the first time that we got the 4 awards in a single years, right. So, in a single year we got a 4 awards which was given by the Honorable President. So, that is the context. The awards were given to former Prime Ministers P.V. Narasimha Rao and then Chaudhary Charan Singh, he is also the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister of India, and then Karpuri Thakur, he is a freedom fighter as well as Bihar Chief Minister, and M.S. Swaminathan, the father of Green Revolution, Indian Green Revolution. So, the awards were all given for all the 4 persons, it was given posthumously, that means after their death. So, this is the context why we have taken this article. Now, before going into discussion on these personalities who got these awards, let us see what actually are Bharat Ratna awards and then facts related to it. So, this is the highest civilian award. So, there are 2 categories of awards in any country, it is military or it is civilian, right. So, we have Ashok Chakra, Paramveer Chakra, those are all military awards, but this is a civilian award, the common man who contributes for the society. So, these are civilian, highest civilian awards given by India, and they were instituted on 2nd January 1954, right. So, way back immediately after the independence we got launch of these awards, and these awards are conferred. There is no proper criteria given which people can get this, what is the scientific achievements to be done. So, nothing was clearly given, just it was a very generic in term. So, it is giving discretion for the the government to announce whoever they want, there is no particular criteria. The only general criteria is that they should perform an exceptional service in their fields in the highest order. So, very generic thing, there is no specific criteria as such pronounced by the government, right, pronounced by any act. So, this is the very generic criteria, and who gives this award and who announces this award, that is also important for our exam. So, here every year Prime Minister suggests to the President. So, it is announced by President, but given in the background it was suggested by the Prime Minister. So, Prime Minister on suggestion to the President, President will announce these awards accordingly, right. Next one, the recipient, whoever has received the award will get only the certificate, the citation, the sanad, right. So, the medallion, they do not have any monetary grant. they won't get any money, right. So even though this is the highest civilian order, this won't get any money because it will degrade the value of the Bharat Ratna. So that is why we cannot measure the achievements in terms of money. So that is why there is no money as such, and these medals are produced, these Bharat Ratna medals are produced by Alipur Mint in the Kolkata, right. So that is also important, and the first award of Bharat Ratna way back in January 2nd 1954 was given to 3 persons, that is Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, this will also be asked in the statements, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan and then C.V. Raman as well as C. Rajagopalachari. So these are the 3 persons who received the first Bharat Ratna award in 1954. So these are all the facts that are relevant for our exam. Now there are 4 persons who got this award, right. So P.V. Narasimha Rao, and then Chaudhary Charan Singh, then Karpuri Thakur and M.S. Swaminathan. Now we need to know each and every personality, important points, we cannot discuss in detail, it will take hours on hours, such a great personalities we have. So we will discuss only the relevant things for our exam, right. So P.V. Narasimha Rao was person from Telangana region, the present Telangana region, who born in 1921 in the Nizam state, right. So that time Nizam was there, and he is a freedom fighter, academician, literary figure, I mean he wrote lot of books, right, and he is the 9th Prime Minister for India. This is important. He is the 9th Prime Minister for India who acted between 1991 to 1995. So again fact, lot of facts are there which are very very important for our exam, and he has translated work of Veyi Padagalu. It is a Telugu work which discuss about the village background, how caste elements will work, how the power distribution happens at the village level. It was written way back in 1920s in the Telugu language, and this book was translated into Hindi as Sahasrapan by P.V. Narasimha Rao, very important fact to be remembered. Also there is a very popular administrative or constitutional provisions made during P.V. Narasimha Rao terms, that is 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Those are panchayats and municipalities were added into the constitution during the tenure of P.V. Narasimha Rao. So this is again one more important thing, right. So also one other important development during his tenure was we have established the first diplomatic relations with Israel. Till then we were not able to diplomatically engage with Israel because we are supported towards the Palestinian cause. Of course even today we have the same stand, but anyway the relations with Israel was established during the tenure of P.V. Narasimha Rao. So this is about his personality. Next, second person who got this award is Chaudhary Charan Singh. He was born in Uttar Pradesh way back in 1902, right, in the district of Meerut. So that is his birthplace. He joined Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress was established way back in 1885, right, for the cause of Indian freedom struggle against British. So he joined Indian National Congress and he fought in many of satyagrahas. Salt Satyagraha he participated even Quit India movement, right. So those are all the freedom struggles that has been made by Chaudhary Charan Singh. Also one other important provision, during the 1939 in the United Province, I mean UP was earlier called as United Province during the British. So the debt redemption bill for the peasantry, the farmers, the poor farmers who were not able to pay the debt to the various sources. So this debt redemption bill was passed and he supported the passage of this particular bill, right. Next, he was also instrumental in passing the Land Holding Act of 1960 in Uttar Pradesh, right. So this act made the sealing of the land that one can hold, because during British we have zamindari system, raitwari system, where certain individuals, certain caste, higher caste has occupied most of the land. So he has passed, he was the one who instrumental in bringing this act, so that beyond certain limit, take example of 10 acres, beyond certain limits nobody can hold those lands, so that land will be redistributed to the poor farmers. So this is also the cause of Chaudhary Charan Singh. So that is why his birth anniversary is celebrated as National Farmers Day. This is very very important. So whose birthday we are celebrating National Farmers Day, they may ask in the exam. So it is because of the Chaudhary Charan Singh and his cause for the farmers. It is celebrated every year on 23rd December, right. He also established, after Congress, he was joined Congress, but in 1967 he came out of Congress and launched Bharatiya Kranti Dal, a new party, and he became chief minister. This party came into the power and he acted as a chief minister in the 2 terms, right. Later this party was merged into the Janata Dal, right. As of now we have Janata Dal in Bihar. So this party was merged into Janata Dal in the later times, right. So he also acted as a chief minister twice, and one more important thing, he acted as a prime minister for India after Morarji Desai in 1979. So such a big achievements has been made. He is a chief minister, he is a prime minister, he acted as cause for the farmers. He is also freedom fighter who participated in Satyagraha, Salt Satyagraha, Quit India movement. So that's why, to remember his achievements, he was awarded with the Bharat Ratna awards. Next one, MS Swaminathan. So this personality is very popular among, especially in the agrarian sector. So he was born in Tamil Nadu, Kumbakonam in 1925, right. He is from Tamil Nadu. He was a scientist and educationist who got degree from agriculture sciences. He was also called as the father of Green Revolution. So you might be already aware, after Indo-China war and Indo-Pakistan war in 1962 and 1965, India was facing a lot of agrarian crisis. We were not able to even produce food that is required for the consumption, normal consumption. So during that time, Swaminathan has brought certain varieties of wheat as well as rice from Mexico and Philippines, and then they were introduced into the Indian agrarian system along with the support of irrigation, technology, pesticides, all the inputs. So immediately in the next 3 to 5 years, we were able to produce lot of agriculture production. We were not only self-sufficient, but also we exported those agriculture crops to the other countries, right. So that's why he is called as a father of Green Revolution. So Green Revolution means propelling the productivity of the crops using the new technologies, right. So that is what we have achieved. Similarly, he was also the first ever of who won the World Food Prize for increasing the yield in the wheat and rice category. So he is the one who received for the first time from World Food Prize. So he also established MS Swaminathan Research in Chennai, and along with that he also awarded lot of other important recognitions like Raman Magsaysay Award, Albert Einstein World Science Award. So he achieved lot of things in the agriculture sector. So to remember again, to recognize his works, so the government has announced the Bharat Ratna awards. And finally, the last personality, fourth personality who got the award, Karpuri Thakur. He is from Bihar and he acted as a chief minister of Bihar for 2 terms, and he was born in 1924. He is also the freedom fighter who participated in the Quit India movement, and he many times was arrested by the British, right. So yes, he spent 26 months, more than 2 years in the prison, right. He became the member of Bihar Vidhan Sabha in 1952 from Tejpur constituency as part of Socialist Party. He completely banned alcohol in the Bihar. So this is one of the reason why he got defeated in the elections, right. But anyway, Bihar is one of the few states where alcohol is completely banned even today, right. So he was the one who initiated. And one more important thing, he was also the person who initiated the reservation for the backward classes, the other backward class. The reservation was there for SC STs, but for BCs there was no reservation. So he is the one who introduced reservation in the Bihar for OBC categories. So that is about the Bharat Ratna awards and the winners. So there are lot of facts, of course. There is no concept as such to explain, but yes, in the exams not only the concepts, the facts are also very important to be remembered. So any doubt in this? I don't think so. There is lot of doubt because all the thing is factual in nature, right. So that is about the first article. Next article, Global Biodiversity Framework. So this is the second article that we are going to discuss. Now the context is, recently certain rights, certain people who are striving for the indigenous people, like tribes. Indigenous people means who are actually the residents of the region, like tribes in the hilly regions. So there was a meeting in the USA, right, in the University of Arizona related to the indigenous people. And during this discussion there was mentioned about the role of global biodiversity framework, which is hindering the development of indigenous people. I mean, this global biodiversity framework is okay, fine, it is sufficient or supporting the environment cause, but it is affecting the indigenous people, the tribal people who are residing in the hamlets of hilly regions. So we will see why it is affecting, how it is affected, right. So this, that's why there was an article in the Hindu that the persons who met were discussing about the impact of global biodiversity framework on the indigenous people, right. Now before going into what it is, how it is affecting the tribes, let us understand the other important terms which are affected with this particular global biodiversity framework, right. Before coming into the global biodiversity framework, let us understand United Nations Convention on Biodiversity, CBD we call them, United Nations Convention on Biodiversity. Okay. So this was established in 1992, signed in 1992 and came into the force in 1993. And what is the aim? It is a legally binding treaty, that means every nation has to follow it. It is not just recommendatory in nature unlike many of the agreements, it is a legal binding treaty where it forces all the countries to strive for the development of environment and biodiversity, right. So there are certain objectives and all that we will discuss, but the main objective is to promote the sustainable nature of the environment or biodiversity. So that is the objective. It was the first time ever that all the nation accepted related to the need of conserving the biodiversity. Biodiversity means the diversity existing in the life. You take humans, you take animals, you take insects, you take fishes, there is a lot of diversity among the life, right, different life systems. So the main aim is to protect the diversity, to not lose the diversity in the future. So that is the aim, and it covers all the ecosystems. There is no specific ecosystem like oceans or territorial systems or air or any mangroves. So it is all encompassing every ecosystems on the earth, and then species as well as genetic resources. So this agreement want to protect everything related to the biodiversity, covering all ecosystems and then species and then genetic resources. This is one important point, right. So it was signed in 1992 but came into the picture in 1993, right. So it was signed under the United Nations. Important that this conservation of biodiversity is under United Nations, and it was kept under United Nations Environment Program, which is headquartered at Nairobi. So under the United Nations we have different criteria, we have World Bank, we have IMF, we have United Nations Environment Program, we have UNECTAD. So under United Nations itself there is lot of bodies which are taking specific role, and UNEP is the one which is taking care about the environment. So this CBD agreement was kept or signed under United Nations Environment Program, and the secretariat or headquarters is kept at Montreal, Canada. So this headquarter of CBD is kept in Montreal in Canada, right. So all the United Nations members are ratified this except USA, except United States, all other countries has ratified this agreement, right. Yeah. Now one more important thing is Conference of Parties, COP. It is the governance body of this agreement. So to implement the agreement someone has to be there, right. All the countries has to come together and they need to discuss, then only the agreements will be implemented. So this is Conference of Parties is the one which is the governing body of the agreement. It meets every 2 years. For every 2 years it meets, right. So they discuss about the existing situation of the environment, and accordingly they will deploy any tools required for the conservation of environment, right. So this is about CBD, and there are 3 important objectives: conservation of biological diversity, the main objective; sustainable use of biological diversity, resources that are existing in on earth; and then fair and equitable sharing of benefits. See, there will be resources, some countries will have more technology, like you can take USA, Germany, other western countries. Some countries, especially in Africa, they do not have technology to extract the resources. So this agreement brings the ethical element that fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising out of genetic resources. If there is any new advancements, new things, even if it is discovered by the Western countries, that has to be equitably shared between all the nations. So that is why USA has backed out. They have technology, they will invent, but why we will give? So it is a selfish act, right? So this agreement talks about the fair and equitable sharing of genetic resources, right? Under this CBD, the Convention on Biodiversity, we have two important sub-agreements. There were two important sub-agreements. This is many times has been asked in the exam. Whatever exam you write, you might have seen these two things. Just go back to previous year questions, whatever the exam you write. So these two elements might have repeatedly asked in the exam. So Cartagena Protocol and then Nagoya Protocol, right? So Cartagena Protocol talks about the effects of trade between living modified organisms. There will be certain living organisms transferred from one country to other country, and that may have a negative effect. Take example of China. So if there is any trade from that country and if there are viruses being transported from those organisms, that will impact all the countries, and take example of COVID, right? So similar to such thing events may happen. So this protocol talks or aims to ensure that those transfer of living organisms will not affect the countries, and if it is affected, the country has to take the responsible who has transported that. So this Cartagena Protocol talks about the management of living modified organisms transport from other country to other country, which should not have a negative impact. Second thing, Nagoya Protocol, this one was entered into force in 2003. This was way back. After that, the same CBD, Convention on Biodiversity, also launched the Nagoya Protocol. So it signed in the Japan. Nagoya is located in Japan. So under this agreement, whatever the genetic resources that are being developed, that has to be equitably shared between the countries. So this is a specific thing. Nagoya Protocol talks about the access to genetically resources and their fair sharing between the countries. So this is the Nagoya Protocol. It came into the force in 2014, right? So this is about CBD. Now come back to the context once. Let us understand that there was a meeting and then there was talking about the global biodiversity framework. We have discussed the CBD Convention on Biodiversity, right? United Nations Convention on Biodiversity, the objectives, and the two important protocols, Cartagena and then Nagoya Protocols. Now how global biodiversity framework is connected to the Convention on Biodiversity, that we have to know. As I said earlier, there is a conference of parties which is happening for every 2 years, COP, right? For every 2 years they meet and then discuss. So this global biodiversity framework, is an outcome in the 15th meeting of conference of parties. It was met in like Canada, and then Canada, Montreal is in Canada, and then Kunming in China. So there was in December 2022, there was a meeting, the COP 15 in China. So under that COP 15, the global biodiversity framework was signed. So I hope you are understanding. There is a CBD agreement, under that there is a COP every 2 years. Under the COP there is a 15th COP, Conference of Party, which has happened in 2022, and under this COP the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was signed, right? So this you need to understand. Now what is this? What are the provisions under the Global Biodiversity Framework? So there were 4 targets, you can see here. 4 targets were there. Global Biodiversity Framework, we have 4 overreaching goals. It is not targets, okay, 4 goals are there. Reducing the rate of extinction of all species by 2050. So some species are getting extinct, so that has to be stopped. This is one goal, and then sustainable use of biodiversity, the second goal, and then third is fair sharing of genetic resources, third goal, and then adequate means of implementing the CBF with all GBF Global Biodiversity Framework with all stakeholders. So, under the COP15 this was signed and 4 goals was there, and there are 23 targets. There are 4 goals and then under that there are 23 targets. You no need to remember, just remember that how many targets are there. So, total 23 and it covers very generic: halting biodiversity loss, saving endangered, protecting wildlife species, everything related to environment was categorized into 23 targets out of 4 goals. Now, what has happened this? Okay, some more targets are there, they may be asked in the exam. So, just go through them. These are all the facts. I will just give you a brief targets explanation. You can go through the PDF, these are the targets. So, under global biodiversity framework there was certain targets, 30 by 30 deal, where all the nations has to restore the 30% of degraded ecosystems. Already there was lot of degradation. Since industrial revolution we were facing lot of degradation. We want to restore them, we want to make them more natural as early which was existing before, right. So, this is one target, and then conserve and manage 30% areas, whatever the areas that are existing, out of that take 30% and protect them specifically. So, this is one target, and then you can take you can go through these targets. I mean, no need to explain, there is lot of data only, but there are important. What are the targets of global biodiversity framework, they will ask in the exam. So, these are all the reducing pesticides, all these are the targets. Please go through the PDF. So, these are all the factual stuff, right, but have to remember, fine. Now, what has happened, as there was a target under global biodiversity framework, this was leading to protection of environmental national parks, wildlife sanctuaries and all. So, in the process the local people, the tribes who are residing in the hilly regions, the national parks, right, wildlife sanctuaries, those people are being vacated in most of the countries, because by saying that this country is part of global biodiversity framework, we need to protect. So, the people who are residing in those regions were being vacated, right. So, that is happening, and the the meeting that was happened has given 2 examples where indigenous people in the Ujglong National Park in Indonesia was vacated. Similarly, in India also 85% of national parks consist of the local tribes, and those people are being driven out of those regions. So, this meeting is saying that yes, you established the global biodiversity framework, but you did not protecting the rights of the indigenous people who are residing there. So, that is what the context is, but you need to know about what actually is global biodiversity framework, and then what is COP, what is Convention on Biodiversity. So, all these are very relevant, you need to connect all the points. That is how the examiners ask, they will not ask directly about global biodiversity framework, but what is behind it, the issue, that is they ask in the exam, right. So, any doubts in this? The facts, the targets I will give in the PDF. Any doubts in this? Okay, fine. So, if you do not have any doubts, let us move to the next. Yes, thank you Indela for the response. Let us move to the next article, tropical cyclones. Try to understand this. You can expect one question, whatever, if geography is part of your exam syllabus, then yes, they will ask this, right. Many times it was repeated. So, what is the context? Tropical cyclones of higher intensity demanded a new category. Let me explain you about this briefly. As of now, cyclones are categorized into 5 categories based on the wind speed, the cyclone speed, the intensity. There are 5 categories, right. But now, because of climate change, because of the global warming, the categorization was not sufficient. There was, the intensity has increased, much when we compare to the last few decades. So, the paper was recommending for the sixth category, that we need a new advanced, more intense cyclone classification has to come. We will see that in detail, do not worry, just briefly telling you the context why it is there in news. So, the new research paper has demanding that a new category of cyclone intensity has to be established. Before discussing that in detail, let us understand what actually is a cyclone, right. So, what actually is a cyclone is important. First let us understand, we have discussed this previously also in the one of the sessions. If the particles are loosely packed, and this is the what this in this wind, take example of two winds, this is a wind A and this is wind B, two places, two different regions, derived or distance is 1 kilometers. So, this is a low pressure zone where the particles are spread. So, there is a lot of space here, and here it is a tightly packed wind. So, in this wind all the particles which are closely packed. So, in this case where will be high pressure and where will be low pressure? I want the answer from you. Is it A the region of low pressure, or is it the B which is the area of low pressure? Anyone? Yes, A is the low pressure area, because see here, this is a highly packed wind, completely rush, all the particles are very near. So, the pressure is very high, the pressure as the space is very less, there is no space at all to occupy, the particles are very closed, and yes, A is correct. So, it is a low pressure zone and this is a high pressure zone, because all the particles are tightly packed, there is a high amount of pressure inside, and this is a low pressure wind. So, wind always move from high pressure zone to low pressure zone, because there is no space, these particles this will try to escape to the low pressure zone where there is a freeness, right. So, where there is a free space. So, these winds always move from high pressure zone to low pressure zone, that is one important thing to be understood. And one more important thing, wherever there is a increase in temperature. So, for example, there is a, let me erase these things, there is a two winds A and B, and if there is an increase in temperature in wind A and wind B, it is compression, I mean temperature is getting reduced. So, here as the temperature gets increased, the wind size will increase, it will expand. So, the particles keep moving far away. So, low pressure zone is created when there is an increase in temperature, and if you decrease the temperature, it will get contract, the wind will become smaller and the particles will move closer. So, high pressure zone is created, right. So, if the temperature is increasing, the wind will expand and the particles get far away, right. So, it will allow other winds to join here, right. So, other winds join here. So, what I want to tell, the conceptual thing, wherever there is a low pressure zone or wherever there is an increase in temperature, there will be a low pressure zone where winds will rush towards this particular region. So, this is what I want to tell. You can see here in this diagram, low pressure zone and then high pressure zone, winds are moving away, they are going out, but here in low pressure they are coming to this region. So, that is what I want to tell you before explaining the cyclone concept, right. Is this clear? Yeah. Now, let us go to the cyclone region, how it works, how it occurs and all. So, a cyclone is a low pressure zone. As I said, the low pressure should be there, because the winds will rush there as there is a sufficient gap. So, cyclone is a low pressure area on the sea surface especially, right. So, which was having a inward spiraling, that means the wind is rushing towards the central region, the low pressure region. That is one important definition of cyclone. Now, what actually is cyclonogenesis? Cyclone is a certain event, the final event, but cyclogenesis is the total process that is involved in the cyclone formation and intensification. So, cyclone is an event, cyclonogenesis is a process involved in the formation and intensification of the cyclone, right. So, these two important concepts you need to understand. And then the word cyclone means Greek word called cyclos, which is means snake coils. So, snake like coils, how snake will sit in a small basket in a coil manner. So, that is the name derived from the Greek, and this was named by Henry Paddington. They have asked this in the lower level of exams, they may ask this, they have already asked this in many of the exams. So, Henry Paddington was the one who discovered or coined this term as tropical storms, the cyclones. So, this is the basic introduction of cyclones. Now, one important concept is there is a certain events in the northern and southern hemisphere. So, earth is like this and this is the northern hemisphere, right, northern hemisphere, and this is the southern hemisphere. So, this is two divisions of the earth. Now, earth is not what you call stable in the sense that it is not calm, it is rotating like this, right, it is rotating towards in a much faster way. So, it takes 24 hours to rotate. In this process, it is generating the Coriolis force. Coriolis force means the force affected on the particles on the any bodies on the earth because of the rotation of earth. So, you may ask me the question, sir, if Coriolis force is an effect on the body, then why I am stable? I should also be rotating, because you are a very micro element on the earth, that is why you will not see the impact. Yes, there is an impact, but you will not be able to recognize it. So, Coriolis force is the force that is being affected on the bodies which are any body, shut, pen, right. If you keep this on earth surface, it will have effect, but as they are very small, so that the impact is not clearly visible to us, right. So, this is Coriolis force. Because of Coriolis force, in the northern hemisphere, cyclones rotate in anti-clockwise direction. So, in this direction, anti-clockwise directions, because of the Coriolis force. In the southern hemisphere, they rotate in the clockwise direction. So, this direction. So, southern hemisphere it is clockwise, northern hemisphere it is anti-clockwise. So, this is the impact of Coriolis force. So, this is a anti-clockwise, this is a right. So, this is a anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere. So, this is an example, right. Now, what are tropical cyclones? Cyclone we have already seen, right, it is nothing but a low pressure zone which can create by occupying lot of winds. The tropical cyclones are the cyclones, cyclone definition I have already explained, and this is equator, this is Tropic of Cancer, this is Tropic of Capricorn. This is the geographical concept, latitudes. So, tropical cyclones are cyclones that are happening in this between the tropics, Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, right, with intensity more than 63 kilometers per hour or more, right. So, this is the speed of the cyclones. Now, how cyclone is generated? Let us understand this. As I said, always winds move from high pressure zone to low pressure zone, and there is a low pressure zone, take example in Bay of Bengal or South China Sea. All the winds will rush towards that region, they will what you call rotate in the at the center, right, and then no need to worry about diagram, I will explain you, understand this, that low pressure zone is created, all the winds are rushed into the the low pressure zone, they will rotate, and what they will do, as the winds has rushed to that place, right. So, all the winds has rushed into this place, what they will happen, after some time they will not able to manage to give more space to the other air which is coming, the other winds. So, what will it happen, after reaching to this region vertically above, now I am talking about the horizontal, the winds will move from ocean other regions towards this region of low pressure. After coming here, what will happen, they will rise up vertically and then expand at the top, because of rushness here, all the winds has rushed here, now it will rise, it will expand, and then clouds are formed. So, this cyclone will keep moving towards the Indian Ocean region or any other regions if it is Pacific Ocean, because why they are moving, there are also reasons like Coriolis force and then winds, the big winds, and then other geographical land masses. There are a lot of factors which are making this cyclone, whole cyclone moving towards the Indian subcontinent. So, as this cyclone moves, the clouds also moves towards it, and once it hit the land, all the whatever the moisture that is being carried by the clouds will shun there. So, that is why we have, whenever the cyclone reaches to the land, there will be a temperature difference, because on the sea there will be some temperature, and then on the land mass there will be some other temperature. So, once it strikes the land mass, whatever the moisture carried by the clouds, all this moisture is shunned in terms of precipitation or rainfall on the coastal strip. So that is why the cyclones becomes very heavy in the after hitting the land, right. So this is about the cyclone. Now there are certain favorable conditions. These are all very important. Before knowing what is the issue, the new category required, you need to know what actually is cyclone, how it occurs, and then what are the conditions to form the cyclone. There are certain conditions which are favorable in forming the cyclones. First is sea surface temperature should be 27 degrees or more, because temperature is more than low pressure. So the air get expand and then low pressure zone can be formed. So 27 degrees or more temperature should be there, first one. Then presence of Coriolis force to make it rotate rather than making it as a straight, so it should rotate towards itself, right. So Coriolis force should be there, and then small variations in vertical wind. So vertical wind should be variation very less, I mean the above one and below here should be very less variation. If it is high variation, then immediately after winds, the winds reaching to the low pressure zone, they will escape in a much faster way. If it is go for slow, then they will slowly expand and then create clouds. So cloud formation won't be possible if there is a high variation in the vertical winds. It should be very less vertical variation, so that they will slowly expand and cloud formation will happen, right. So this is again one important observation that need to be made. And then pre-existing low pressure zone, of course, and then upper divergence, the expansion should also happen. Once they rise, they should expand, so that it will create the rain, right. So these are all the favorable conditions to form the cyclones. Any doubts in this? I need to go, we have still more article to discuss, but I just want to ask you whether it is clear or if there is any doubt, because this depends on those concepts. Any doubt in the cyclone, how it is created and how it is formed? Great, thank you, fine. So now, as we have discussed the cyclone, there is a different cyclones with a varying intensity. Some cyclones will be very high intense, some cyclones will be very low intense, some will be moderate. So as there was an observation of the historically that cyclones have different categories. Great, Rajkumar, thank you. So here there is a different intensity of cyclones generated. This was made by Saffir-Simpson. So it was Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. This was a scale which was differentiated cyclones into 5 categories. See here, 5 categories based on the some intensity, wind speed. So some wind speed which is less than which lies between 74 to 95 miles per hour. Based on the wind speed, cyclones move from one place to other place, as I said. So based on their speed of movement, there were 5 categories. So 119 to 153, no need to remember, just remember that there are 5 categories. I am just making you to understand how they are categorized based on the wind speed difference, the travel speed difference. 119 to 153 kilometers, 154 to 177, 178 to 208, you no need to remember, don't worry, 208 to 251, and 252 plus is categorized as 5th category. So first category 1 is low wind speed cyclones, category 5 is high category, the high wind speed cyclones, 252 plus kilometer per hour. Okay, these are the 5 categories given by the Saffir-Simpson. So this will be asked in the exam. Saffir-Simpson scale is related to what? Something like that they may ask in the exam, right? So this is a scale where they have categorized the cyclones based on their intensity speed into 5 categories. But now what has happened? The research paper. So we are coming back to the context now. The research paper has asked that as due to the climate change and the global warming events, the wind intensity of the cyclones are much higher. They are going for 400. You are just categorizing 250 plus, 252 plus as a category 5, but the cyclone intensity are going for even 400 kilometers per hour. So what they are suggesting? They are suggesting that you please categorize one more, you add one more category, that is category 6. We are only 5 categories, so please add category 6. Let us do one thing, 309 until 309 we can keep 309 kilometers per hour, we can keep it as a fifth category, and then 309 plus let us categorize it into sixth category. So this is what the context, but the questions are usually not asked in detail, but they will ask about the cyclones, how they are categorized, right, and then how they are formed, all those things will be asked in the exam. But usually what we will do, we read the newspaper and there was some change, but that is how not to be prepared for the exam. You need to go back what actually is, how it is occurring, that is how the questions are framed in the exam, right. So this is about the context, right. So this we have already discussed, 309 kilometers per hour plus category should be 6. Any doubt in this? Great. So that is very conceptual element, that is why it took lot of time to me to explain. Anyway, next is factual articles, it won't take much time. Financial Action Task Force, very small article. The context is many countries are yet to fully implement steps to prevent the misuse of virtual assets. There was an article again in FATF, in the Hindu about this particular thing, that certain countries were not able to take measures related to the misuse of virtual currencies. What are virtual currencies? Virtual currencies means those which can transact only online, like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. Now you can take the normal money, you can transfer online. If I am having 10,000 in my account, I can transfer through UPI from my account to others account. Also I can take physical amount, I will go to the ATM and then I will keep my card and I can take the 10,000 physically also. That is the nature of the normal currency. But in case of virtual currencies, you can only transact. You will be given with 100 bitcoins. Take example, 100 bitcoins are there. You cannot take them physically, only that you can transfer one person to other person virtually. So if you transfer 10, it will reflect as 90 bitcoins in your account. This 10 already went to other person. So there will be some passcode, right. Once the transaction is done, the blockchain technology will change the code and only the person who is holding the cryptocurrency will know it, right. So that is called as the virtual assets or cryptocurrency. Now there was a lot of illegal elements across the world in terms of money laundering, terror financing, terrorists also being funded by certain countries to buy the guns and all. Earlier it was happening through the normal money, the cash, right. But now as the cash, all the regulation becomes very difficult, they are being regulated strictly. Also the new currency, that is cryptocurrency, are coming into the picture. So these terrorists are using these cryptocurrencies to fund their bombs and all, right. So that is why FATS has asked now to take measures related to the virtual assets. Okay, fine, cash and all is done, but now new currency has been emerged, so we need to take measures that this currency, virtual assets, will not go to the terrorist fundings, right. So this is the context. Now what is FATF? Why only this organization have the responsibility? That we will see. The questions will be asked about the FATF. So FATF, Financial Action Task Force, the full form is also important, is a intergovernmental body. So it is not an international body. International means an organization, but intergovernmental means just a treaty signed between the governments. So it is an intergovernmental policy which aims to keep the standards related to the combating of money laundering and terror financing. The main aim is money laundering will not happen. Money laundering means misuse of transfer of money, right. So illegal development of money. Money laundering and terror financing will not happen, and this is the intergovernmental policy which takes care of this particular objective. It was established in 1989 by G7 group 7, right. So we have USA, we have Canada, so G7 countries are there. These countries have established the FATF, and later many other countries have joined, including India, right. So it was kept headquartered in Paris. It was signed and established with the headquarters in Paris. In 2001, the mandate expanded to terror financing. Earlier, for the first, when they have launched way back in 1989, it was just to combat money laundering, transfer of illegal money between the borders. But in 2001, terror financing was also added as an objective of FATF. That is also important. It is headquartered at Paris, France, and as of now we have 38 countries which are part of FATF, and our India is also part of it, right. India became member in 2010. So this is about the FATF. Now virtual assets regulation, as I said, the countries have agreed, I mean in February 2023 they have agreed under the FATF, I mean last year only they have agreed that virtual currencies will not go to the terrorist or the money laundering activities. So this agreement was signed, accepted between the countries, and as recent survey was conducted by FATF how this agreement was going forward, it has came to the picture that only few countries are taking measures such as India and then some countries like China, yes China, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. Now it is requesting for all the countries to take care, implement the legislative part to control the funding of cryptocurrencies to the terror financing as well as money laundering. So that is about the context, and FATF we have discussed. Any doubts in this? Fine. Next article about Katchatheevu Islands. Katchatheevu Island. So why it is there in news? Our Honorable Prime Minister has commented on 31st March that this Katchatheevu Islands was given by Congress government. Now we are facing the issue for both Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka, fisherman issue. This has happened because of Congress something. It is a political statement, we no need to go into the detailed discussion, but our concern is what actually is Katchatheevu Island and what is the agreement between India and Sri Lanka, right. So that is our requirement. Let us see what is Katchatheevu Island. Yeah. So observe here the map. Katchatheevu Island, this is the one very small island located in the Pak Strait. So this is India, this is Sri Lanka, and this is Gulf of Mannar, and this is Pak Strait. So Katchatheevu Island is located between Rameshwaram and then Sri Lanka. Fine. So this is at the middle of the border between India and Sri Lanka, located in Pak Strait. This is important. It is located 33 kilometers from India and then 62 kilometers from the mainland of Sri Lanka. Anyway, there was Delft Island. So this small one, so observe here, this is Delft Island which is part of Sri Lanka. So from there it is just 24 and from here it is 34 kilometers, right. So it lies between India and Sri Lanka, between Rameswaram and then Delft Island. Also this was formed in 14th century. This small Katchatheevu Island that you are seeing here, red color one, is formed in 14th century due to volcanic eruption. So volcano came from the underneath sea and then the magma got solidified and this was leading to the formation of Katchatheevu Island. Fine. So this is the background of location as well as the background of Katchatheevu Island. Now what is the issue? This island was earlier part of British India, I mean even Sri Lanka was under the British until 1948, right. So the fishermen between India, that is from Tamil Nadu as well as Sri Lanka, were harmoniously making the fish, whoever goes first whenever they want. So they were able to do that, fine. But there was a issue emerged. This was the condition, I mean without any conflict they were doing the fishing, but the issue emerged when countries signed the maritime boundary agreement. As both the fishermen going there and doing the fishing activities, there was a lot of clashes between Indian fishermen and Sri Lankan fishermen, and it became a national issue between the two countries. So in 1974 and 1976 there were two agreements signed between India and Sri Lanka, that the time Indira Gandhi ji was our prime minister. So she was agreed that this island will be given to the Sri Lanka. So it was made under 1976 that this will be given to the Sri Lanka, right. Now the island is completely in the hands of Sri Lanka, but anyway it was agreed that certain facilities like for fishermen resting, net drying, the fish nets drying, and then there is a church, Saint Anthony church is there. So for those activities Indian fishermen will be allowed, even though even Sri Lanka fishermen were not cannot stay there because there is no water facility there, right. So there is no permanent houses, nothing, only that they will go do fishing and immediately go back to their mainland, right. So here Indian fishermen was not allowed anymore to do the fishing legally, because the agreement, according to the agreement, the land was given to the Sri Lanka, fine. Now Indian fishermen only allowed to net drying, resting, and attending the Saint Anthony festival in the church, right. So this, whenever Indian fishermen are venturing into this particular island, there is lot of arrest made by the Sri Lankan police, fine. Now what is the issue? The the Tamil Nadu state was saying that this island was given to Sri Lanka without even considering them, right. So they should have consulted it, because they are bordering to this island, and Tamil Nadu fisherman was doing lot of activities there. So they should have been asked, so that is why they are not accepting, the Tamil Nadu state government. Sri Lanka was already, already Indian government has promised according to agreement we gave back, so they cannot do anything, right. So this issue still persisting. So that is about the Katchatheevu Island issue. Any doubts in this? Fine. Next one, last article about Vaikom Satyagraha. Last article about Vaikom Satyagraha. There was an article in the Indian Express explained page about Vaikom Satyagraha, that it has completed 100 years on March 30. So it was happened in 1924 March 30. So 100 years has completed, fine. So that is why there was an article. Now what actually is Vaikom Satyagraha? Before going into that, let us go back little to the history of India, especially in the Kerala region. The Indian society was divided into the Varna system. We have Brahminical Brahmins at the top, and then we have Kshatriyas, and then we have Vaishyas, and then Shudras, and then untouchables which are not part of the Varna system. So we have a caste, since Vedic period we have a Varna system, and most of the people who are residing, who are part of untouchables, right. So they were kept out of the city, they were not even allowed into the city, and even if they are coming into the villages and towns, so they need to make lot of sounds, so that it is alerting the people to, they will lock inside. So they feel that these people are impure. There is a concept called pure and impure. If you are a sociology student, so you might be aware, there is a pure and impure concept, right. So these untouchables were involved in the manual scavenging, all these things those days. So that is why they were not allowed to enter into the towns. But this is against the human values, isn't it? So whoever may, this is a birth element, so it is not the crime that was committed by any person. So it came from birth, so what anyone can do. So it is a heinous, considered as a heinous crime now. Anyway, historically there was lot of support even for these elements, right. So what was happening in the Vaikom in Kerala region, the people from untouchables were not allowed to enter into the temples. So for example, I am a person and I want to enter into the temple because I am devoted towards the god, and if someone is rejecting, it is like a humiliation for me, isn't it. So such things were happening in the in the Kerala region. So there was a Vaikom area, and a temple, Mahadev temple, was located in the princely state of Travancore. So I am so sorry, I am still stuck in Katchatheevu. So here the Kerala was in state of Travancore, right. So in that area we have a Mahadev temple, where there are 4 roads to the temple. There are 4 roads to the temple, and all the 4 roads were allowed only to the higher caste. No untouchables were allowed to enter into these roads, as well as the main temple. It is completely prohibited, right. So in the 1924, people have raised against this, especially with the leadership of T.K. Madhavan. Yes, T.K. Madhavan. So he first published this in his article Deshabhimani. So in his Deshabhimani he has In 1917 itself he has write a detailed article about the existing condition in the temple, right, and non-violent satyagraha, like how Mahatma Gandhi has promoted the peaceful protest. So the people here in this region has started protesting to enter into the temple, right. So this was led by many leaders like Mahatma Gandhi. Even Mahatma Gandhi entered into the satyagraha, supporting the satyagraha. We have Periyar, who is father of Tamil social reforms, right. So Periyar has supported, lot of people have supported this, but it was stunt against, the Brahmins who are there was completely against about this entry of the untouchables into the temple. Now in 1927, initially through Mahatma Gandhi support, one path was allowed to specifically for Brahmins, and rest of the three were open to everyone. So anyone can visit these three paths, but not enter into the temple. Only till here they were allowed, right, only till here they were allowed, but for Brahmins there was a separate path. So they kept struggle against these elements under the leadership of T.K. Madhavan and some more Kerala leaders. Finally in November 30, 1936, the temple was opened by Maharaja of Travancore to everyone. So it was opened completely that anyone can visit the temple. So it was resolved. It started struggle in 1924 and it kept till 1936, and finally it was achieved that in the temples everyone can allowed. If someone is constraining any cash, that will be punished, right. So this is about the Vaikom Satyagraha. So there are some facts are also to be remembered, when it has happened 1924, when it started and when it ended, and who is the main leadership, where it is located as well, in Kottayam, Kerala, right, and who is the main leader, T.K. Madhavan, and Mahatma Gandhi was also involved in this. So that is about the Vaikom Satyagraha. Any doubts in this? Fine. So there is a one fact which need to be discussed, because that is important for the exams. On March 30th, every year we are celebrating International Day for Zero Waste. International Day for Zero Waste is being celebrated every year on March 30, and this was started in 2022 itself. It is a new day declared, new in the sense very recently. It was declared International Day of Zero Waste on March 30 to promote the awareness related to the waste management, and there is no theme as declared as such. So as of now there is no theme. Yes, they may declare in the next coming days, but as of now there is no theme for this particular day, right. So that is about today's session. Now let us solve some practice questions from the discussions that we have done. First question: which of the following statements in respect to Bharat Ratna awards are correct, right. So who are the winners that you need to remember, of course, but for higher level of exams this is Bharat Ratna awards are also important. So we have discussed that. Let us solve. First statement: Bharat Ratna awards are titles given under the Article 18 of Indian Constitution, Article 18(1) of Indian Constitution. That is the first statement. The recommendations for the Bharat Ratna are made by the Prime Minister to the President of India. That is the second statement. Third, the award carry the highest monetary grant for any awards given in India. So this is having the highest monetary award they are saying. So what is the answer for this? So let us see. These are the not titles given under Article 18 of Indian Constitution. There is no such. Actually, Article 18 prohibits to hold any titles, right. So this statement is wrong. Second one, yes, recommendations were given by Prime Minister to the President, and that statement is correct, and this does not have any monetary value. As I discussed, because of this highest award we cannot gauge them with the monetary things. So that is why there is no money as such. So answer is C. Yes, all four of you are correct: Malini, Sandhya, Oindrila and Srinath. Next question: consider the following statements. We have discussed this also. The Convention on Biodiversity was adopted during the Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil 1992. So, this was adopted in 1992. They are talking about adopt, not implementation, in 1992. First statement. India enacted the Biodiversity Act in 2002 to give effect the provisions of Convention on Biodiversity. So, that is the second statement. So, to implement the Convention on Biodiversity, Indian government has passed the Biodiversity Conservation Act in 2002. So, that is the second statement. And third statement, Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was recently adopted under the Convention of Biodiversity with 23 goals and 4 targets. So, these are the statements. We have discussed this in detail, right. First statement, yes, correct, it was adopted in 1992 and came into the picture in 1993, implementation. Second statement is also correct, Indian government has established to implement these provisions through Biodiversity Act. Next, third is, yes, they have adopted, but the goals are 4 and 24 targets, right, not 23 goals, it is 24 goals and then 23 targets. So, third statement is wrong. So, answer is A, 1 and 2. Someone have answered it as correctly, Srinath Indula and Madam, yes, Rajkumar, yes. So, that is about the second question. Next one, which scale is commonly used to measure hurricane cyclone intensity? Mercalli scale, Saffir-Simpson scale, the Fujita scale and then Beaufort scale. Yes, very direct, almost all of you were answered it very instantly, Indila, Srinath, Sandhya, Rajkumar, Malni. So, answer is B. Next, consider the following statements regarding Financial Action Task Force, FATF. It is an intergovernmental body that deals with policies to combat money laundering and terror financing. So, that is the first statement. It is a specialized agency under United Nations, formed under the aegis of United Nations Economic and Social Council. So, this is the second statement, India is member of the task force. Yes, Ashik Ranjan, B is correct for previous question. It is intergovernmental body to combat money laundering and terror financing, first one is correct. So, B is eliminated. It is specialized agency under United Nations, no, it is not United Nations, it was established by G7 countries, group of 7 countries, as I said, it is not an agency under United Nations, it is separate from United Nations. So, 2 is eliminated. Then India is a member, yes. So, answer is C, right. Next one, in the context of Indian history, which of the following statements are incorrect regarding Vaikom Satyagraha? So, Vaikom Satyagraha you have listened patiently, right, the story and all. So, which one is incorrect they are asking? It was Satyagraha against untouchability and caste discrimination, first statement. Second one, Mahatma Gandhi practiced in participated in this Satyagraha. So, second statement, V.O. Chidambaram Pillai assisted Mahatma Gandhi in leading the movement, third statement, and fourth is none of the statements are incorrect. So, what is the answer? Yes, first statement is correct, it is against untouchability and caste discrimination. Mahatma Gandhi has participated in this Satyagraha and enabled the people to participate. It is not V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. So, this person was involved in the Bengal partition movement, right. So, from the Chennai region. So, this is statement stands strong and hence answer is C. Venkata Naga Vaishnavi, the sessions will be on Monday to Saturday, on Sundays it will not be there. So, Sunday current affairs are also covered in the Monday session. Usually Sundays we have very less news, do not worry, we are clubbing it with the on Monday session, right. So, even Sunday's newspaper articles I have clubbed here. Last question, United Nations Convention on Biodiversity Agreement covers which of the following? United Nations Convention on Biodiversity Agreement covers which of the following? Bird species, coastal ecosystems, genetical resources. So I said all the ecosystem species, right, and genetic resources. So all the species means birds included that, and then coastal ecosystems, all the ecosystems. So coastal ecosystem is also part, and then genetic resources as well. So yes, you are correct, all of you are correct. So answer is D, right. So that is of today's session. I hope you enjoyed, though it is a lengthy one, but we have very good articles that we have discussed. So that is all for today, and happy evening. Great, thanks for the support as well, and keep supporting our sessions, right. So have a great evening, bye.